when I was really trying to break down and understand this, it comes from being like aware of how you're feeling, now and how you felt in the past, because your past is going to affect your present. And so you've got that mastered. And once you master your present self, that's what's going to be that guides you into your future. So I think like going and trying to like make a discovery of like what's going on, what's stopping me from hitting my goals, what's stopping me from having a breakthrough. Why do I feel like even though I'm trying new things that I'm still running the same circles? I think that like all of us in our success journey will get that feeling. Welcome back to the Mind Fluxed podcast, a show for creators and doers who want more and aren't going to let anyone stop them from getting it. On this show, we talk about how to think, and our guests, concepts, and ideas are tools to help you maximize your results. In this episode, we're talking about addressing what's wrong, but before we get started, we've got something for you. If you've been struggling with decisions, which are the starting point of all success, head over to mindflux.com/decisions, and we've got a free guide for you on some mistakes to avoid from personal experience. So if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you're listening on iTunes, after you get some value from this episode, leave a review. Those two things are what's going to help us get this to as many people as possible. As always, we're produced downtown in our studio and office by Benji Got Beats. I am one of your hosts, Tristan, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Josh Matthews.
And we're getting right into it. So we're talking about addressing what's wrong. And I think when we were first exploring this topic, I didn't really know how to talk about it because it's a hard thing to do in general. So to break down going around finding problems within maybe yourself or other places, or I was just really having a hard time trying to understand what a listener and what somebody is trying to get out of addressing what's wrong. So I want to ask you immediately, Josh, when you think of okay, hey, what's wrong, or addressing the things going on in your life, whether it be past, present, or going into the future, what does this mean to you, and why is this an important topic for us to dive into?
Yeah, so for me, just from my personal experience, especially the journey that we're on when it comes to growth and actively trying to be heading in the right direction, one thing that I've found out is basically in order to keep moving forward, you have to address certain things in your life. Because for me, I was always the type of person to where things just occurred in my life and I just brush them off and basically just keep going and just stay on track. But from what I found out just in my life, I think that, you can't just always just keep moving forward without addressing certain things, because there's always a level where you kind of get stuck at, and it's a result of something that, it's just something that you need to have a breakthrough on, that if you don't address it to get past that, you're not going to. So for me, that could mean, past relationships that you had, or past situations that kind of affect you in a certain way, but you kind of just brush it off. I think there's a time, especially the more you find out about yourself, the more that you become just aware that, certain things may be the reason that, you're stuck. So that's what I kind of get from this whole thing with this topic, with addressing problems.
And understanding that it is important to handle or observe things now. And understanding right from the top, it is the little things, the little nuances. I don't really like that, or something that leaves a bad taste in your mouth, or something good. It can be addressing what's right too. I think really when I was really trying to break down and understand this, it comes from being aware of how you're feeling, now, and how you felt in the past, because your past is going to affect your present, and so you've got that mastered. And once you master your present self, that's what's going to be that guides you into your future. So I think going and trying to make a discovery of what's going on, what's stopping me from hitting my goals, what's stopping me from having a breakthrough. Why do I feel like even though I'm trying new things that I'm still running the same circles? I think that all of us in our success journey will get that feeling. We try the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and we're always trying the next thing, but it feels like we're stuck. And so it kind of leaves us with the problem of like, dang, it must be us. There must be something going on that's stopping us from our next phase of growth. So how do you even recognize that you're feeling off? Like, what does that even feel like to decide if this is like something you need to investigate and like find what the problem actually is?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just like noticing like what like type of state or vibration that you're in. So like, compared to like how you felt before, like when things like you felt amazing compared to like how you feel now. I just think that's like the biggest like indicator when it comes to things like that, just like noticing like how you feel. And then also noticing like, how you feel in a moment and just really just sitting with yourself and like thinking like going a little deeper, like not try to think surface level of like what you think is wrong, but like try to go a little bit deeper. Like, let me see, like, what was it like what happened when I was like 10 years old, or what happened when I was like 15 or what situations or impactful situations have I always just kept in my mind that I could relate to like now to like the way I feel. I think it's just like thinking like a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm. And asking like, why do I feel this way? Or why did I feel that way? And then after you answer it, asking why again. And after you answer it, why again? And then I think like once you start to make that discovery and you're like, oh, okay, something's like is really going on here. Something needs to be addressed. Something needs to happen. Then you can identify like the cause and like spearhead it right then and there. So like for me, for example, I'm always a go, like very expressive. Which causes me to, suppress maybe what's actually like going on and like face it, and like really like face the music, I guess you could say. So when we were breaking this down, one thing I thought of is like your anticipation or your expectations are going to dictate like how you feel about the problems in your life. So are you anticipating and meeting problems in the middle, like going with the flow of your, problems that you need to address or find out what's wrong? Or are you expecting certain things to happen to you that are like good and or bad? Because those two things, what you anticipate and like, because you're taking action on, and what you expect to just happen to you are really going to dictate a lot of your results too. And so when it comes to like you trying to figure out, okay, what's going on with me, how do you change your anticipations, or how do you change your like expectations to get away from a problem, or like actually start to solve it and address it? Like, how do we actually start to change the problem that's at hand?
Can you kind of like ask that question again?
Yeah. So with these anticipations that we're like taking action on, like we anticipate this to happen, and so we're like guiding it into our lives, or our expectations, which is like, if we were hands off the wheel, this is what's going to happen anyways, right? When those two things play a big factor in your life and you're looking at a problem, oh, this could have happened when I was 15, this could have happened when I was 10, and I'm feeling it right now. How do you change your anticipations or your expectations, or how do you just change your approach and how you look at it, so that way you can actually get past that? Because if we always say, well, this is how 10-year-old me felt in this situation, or 15-year-old me, then we're going to keep repeating that feeling until we actually address it. So like, how do you actually take action and make those changes, or decide like how to pack up and move on from that problem and address it? It's kind of just like it's a blanket question of just like, how do you actually deal with these problems once you figured out what they are?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just like tackle them head on. And that could mean anything for anybody. Like some people, they might be able to just like literally sit with themselves and like dig deep. A lot of people don't have that type of willpower. So they may need to go and like maybe they have a trusted person they can go to like speak with, to kind of like talk through the situation and kind of get some advice, if that person has the capacity to give that,
Mm-hmm.
or just like talking to someone, whatever it may be. I just think it just like varies from like person to person. So like if I like think of my experiences, sometimes I find that I probably should talk to somebody, but I'm also able to kind of like be real with myself and like sit down and like think through a situation and immediately try to put, some action plans and steps in terms of trying to like solve that, and figure it out. So I just think it like varies person to person.
Yeah, the solution varies because so do the problems. So like if we're talking about addressing what's wrong here, guys, and you're thinking about like looking in the mirror basically and figuring out like what's stopping me from hitting this next goal, what's stopping me from hitting this barrier, what am I feeling today, what happened today that that didn't sit well, right? Or that did. And what, emotions do I need to uncover? Like we already said, it is the little things, like those little things that affect you now on a day-to-day basis. They only have an effect because probably of past feelings, but also understanding like the past will affect the present will affect now. So I think really getting down to understanding like all of the problems that you see within yourself or within your life or within your goal, like only you are feeling those problems. Only you are feeling that pressure. And so the solution is going to be whatever you need to do to actually address it. So I would say like follow your gut on that feeling to, if you need to speak with somebody, make sure you're speaking with somebody who can actually hopefully guide you to a solution if that's what you're looking for. If you're just looking to talk it out and get it out, have a group, have a therapist, have a mentor. Like I go to therapy. I've been in the past and now I do like phone therapy and stuff like that. And I think it's extremely impactful because sometimes you really don't know what's going on. You know something's wrong, but you don't know what to address it. And you can feel, maybe a knot in your stomach on your day-to-day activities or nerves. And on this success journey, it's going to feel like all the pressure's on you and all the problems on you because you want to get somewhere so bad and you're wondering why it's not happening. So if that's you right now and you're sitting there wondering like what the problem is, an easy solution is to go to somebody to talk it out and make sure that that's somebody who has either been where you're trying to go so they can diagnose the problem, or somebody who is actually going to listen. So like you're a really good listener. And if you're with somebody who can actually listen, then you'll actually be able to talk it out. Because it's been said somewhere that speech is the final form of thought. And we don't really know exactly where the source of that comes from. But I really do believe that, like when you go to put your actions or you go to put your thoughts and paint a picture with your words of what's going on and what's going on with how you're feeling, like that's your thoughts actually coming out into space. And so I think it's really important to find the right people, places, and like groups to be around to actually express what's going on and address what's going on. Don't really suppress it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say too, like, don't feel bad, like if you're having these like type of feelings and you're trying to figure it out. Because like, for example, like we're young, right? So it's like, I think sometimes people can get caught up in the way they feel and think that something might be wrong with them or something, but there's nothing really wrong, especially like when you're young. It's like you're just figuring it out, and it's a process. Because like for us, like I feel like if we haven't been on this self journey discovery, like we may not feel some of the feelings we feel now, and aware of some of the feelings we feel now, maybe years later on in life, if we haven't tackled and tried to discover stuff within us that we need to overcome from our past life. So like, especially like if you're young listening to this, it's like, identify them and don't feel bad if it's like a little curb that you got to get over to get past those feelings. Just work towards doing it, because like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, still gonna be young.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a process and something you got to figure out. And I'm learning that it's like, it's a process, and it takes time to discover and pick little things, from yourself, or whether it's past traumas or past situations that you've been through to try to overcome.
Yeah, and I think Darren's episode is an excellent episode to listen to, because he talks about awareness and that self-awareness too. And he talks about like, we are a construct of however many years we've been alive and all the beliefs that have been around us. So like, I'm 23 at the time of recording this. So I have 23 years worth of, school systems, family systems, friend systems, like beliefs around me. And so if I'm trying to get to a new place, a new destination that doesn't fit with school or my family or those other places, which would describe, a lot of our listeners trying to get to a different place, then you will feel alone. You will feel like a lot of pressure. You will feel like something's wrong with you. So like really going back and unpacking, for me, the past 23 years, so I can understand today, but also not necessarily living in a past. Like that's the point of addressing it, is so you can get past it. And that's like one of the last things that I want to leave on this topic is like understanding that, addressing a problem means handling it, like handling the business and getting on to the next thing, not dwelling, not, you may not figure it out in a day, but not just like ripping open these maybe past wounds or even past successes and just like living in that past, or even, just dreaming too much about the future of like, oh, when I fix this, then this will happen. Like addressing it means discovering, finding what the problem is and solving it, because that is something that is going on individually, like with you. And it's something that only you are actually going to be able to handle. So you need to take every action you can to understand what the problems are and actually address them so you can move on to the next phase. And that's something that I'm working on, too, because once I heard Darren say that, I was like, okay, so like I'm having trouble, reach some certain goals, and I need to unpack, and figure out what's going on. And so when I made that decision, then I started making more and more and understanding what's really going on. And I had like an amazing breakthrough in my therapy sessions. Like we're speaking from experience, like when you start to take these things and address them and say, I need to solve them, actually take action to do it. And you'll watch, transformations happen emotionally, physically, spiritually, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
So let's see. When it comes to addressing problems, guys, we've went through like discovering it, identifying it, setting and matching your anticipations and expectations, understanding that it is the little things. Also, it's based on really how you feel. You may not be able to see a problem. You may not be able to hear the problem in somebody's voice. You may not be able to find it, but you can feel it. So it's really important to discover it and see what's going on. Understand the past always affects the present. So fix your past, you can't fix your past, so fix your present, and that'll fix your future. And then lastly, take an action, have a group, have a mentor, have a therapist, have somebody you can reach through and talk through these thoughts to figure them out, because on your success journey, like it's your success journey, and it's going to be you and you every time you reach a new wall, every time you reach a new barrier that you just can't get over. It's you and you. And so you've got to figure out what you need to do to get past it. So this is a short episode, just full with some value on exactly how to do it. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
Mm-mm.
All right, guys. And if you need somebody to talk to or to ask questions about this kind of topic and addressing like whatever's going on in your success journey, you can reach out to us at Mind Fluxed on Instagram at MindFluxed. You can follow us there too. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you are listening on iTunes, leave a review based on this episode. You can find our producer, Benji Got Beats, at Benji Got Beats. You can find me at Tristan is Thinking. Where can they find you, Josh?
On IG at I am Josh Matthews.
Boom. Address the problems, get it done. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.